Hey everyone! Tonight we are talking about how to reduce stress in your business. I'm Mariah C. Crest-Comer. I am your personal fitness trainer, yoga instructor, but I also work full time. I have a day job. I have a life. You can see my little pupperoonies are with me here this evening. Like you, I've got a lot to keep up with. So anything that I tell you tonight is tried and true. Comes from personal experience. It's not sugar-coated or living in La La Land. We're just going to be discussing some really practical tips for reducing what stress we can reduce in our business. So if you happen to have a tribe or community of business owners who you probably think could use a little bit of help reducing stress in their lives, go ahead and click share. Would love for you to share that so that we can reach as many people with this message. It's going to be brief, but it's so important. So really, if we're being serious, my first bit of advice for reducing stress overall is don't run a business. Oh my goodness. Running a business is not that conducive to having low stress levels, but obviously that's not what we're here for. We are here to run a business and run it as smoothly as possible. So with that being said, just in all seriousness, do recognize that when you're running a business, especially in those early stages, you might be running a business because you want to create something better in your life. You want to fulfill your passion. You want to do something that relieves stress, or perhaps create a lifestyle that relieves stress and is not by nature stressful. But as you're building it up, it can add that additional layer of stress. So first of all, just recognize there's going to be those times. There's going to be probably some bumpy roads in the first couple of years. I know for me, it definitely has been. So give yourself that slack when you are not perfectly zen. Even though I teach self-care strategies and how to have more mental and physical energy, I don't think it is realistic for us or fair for us to have expectations that we're going to feel totally chill and zen all the time, especially if we're still working day jobs. I certainly am not chill or zen all the time. But that being said, I do think it's important to control what we can. We want to make our businesses sustainable over time. We want to stick with them. It takes time to build a quality brand. It takes time to build a quality product. So because of that, whatever we can do to manage the stress levels in our business, to build our businesses from the ground up with as little stress as possible, the more we're building that foundation to have the life that we want, but also have the businesses that we want, so that they can operate seamlessly and smoothly and eventually give us some reward for all that hard work that we're doing. But if we're caught in these endless stress cycles, it's no bueno. So my first tip for reducing stress in your business is go ahead and eliminate anything that's not working very well for you right now. Now, that doesn't mean eliminating it forever, but there are probably a handful of activities that you're doing that are not as effective as some of the other activities you're doing, whether that's this particular social media platform or a marketing tactic. If it's not working for you right now and something else is, your attention is really limited, especially if you're in the first couple of years of your business. So focus your energies on what is working. You can always build those other platforms out later or build that other behavior out later if it even makes sense. But there's plenty of what you can do and focus on to bring in business. You don't need to be spreading yourself so thin that you are focusing more energy on non-productive behaviors or outcomes or strategies or tactics. So give yourself permission not to have a super active presence in every single social media platform or every single blogging strategy there is, or podcasting, or there's a million ways we can be out there getting our names out. If something's not working for you, give yourself permission to let it go. My second strategy is to outsource or delegate sooner than you think you can afford to, and certainly let go of that fear that only you can do something. Some people cling more readily to this than others. I would be more than happy to give away most of my work. But of course, obviously, as we're building our businesses, we need to be careful with our budgets. So I recommend this tool that I really like. It is a virtual assistant matchmaking site called Online Jobs, sorry, not virtual, onlinejobs.ph. It has a fantastic database of virtual assistants from the Philippines, and I have a virtual assistant there. Even though I am working a full-time job, I don't use that as an excuse not to get help, not to have a team on my side. I actually use that as a reason, all the more reason that I need help. Now, it's not full time. I spend about $15 a week just for a few hours of Arlo's time, but he's been able to do some of the things that I'm not so great at, like graphic design, scheduling posts, things that I don't necessarily have to do. There are certain things that only we can do as the owners of our businesses, like show up live on camera, right? But anything that you can that's either repetitive or is not your strong suit, I would challenge you to push yourself to start to outsource or delegate some of those things sooner than you think you can afford to. It's always worth the time invested to train someone. And I really like that site, onlinejobs.ph, especially if you're just looking to add someone for a couple of hours a week. Now, of course, you can find full-timers there. If you're ready to go full-time with an assistant, I would recommend probably the virtual staff finder site. I have not used it myself personally because I've not yet invested in a full-time assistant, but I know that most of the people who have made that leap into full-time assistants do recommend virtual staff finder, because that's like outsourcing your outsourcing. They actually do some of the work for you. It's kind of like a recruiting firm amongst, I think it's mainly Filipino virtual assistants as well, but that is a great step up as well if you're ready to go for that full-time assistant. So that's strategy number 2, is get help sooner than you think you can. My third strategy is to schedule as many recurring tasks as you can at regular times. So if something has to happen over and over, make sure that you have time built in for your schedule to do just that on recurring days. So whether that means putting an editorial calendar together, and this applies both to the production of content, and it doesn't have to just be content, but in the lens of content, because that's something that most of us who are running businesses online do, both the production and the actual dissemination of that. So make sure if you don't have a steady content calendar or a steady time that you post, whether that's a weekly email that goes out or a weekly blog post, make sure that you know when those are supposed to be going out, so that it's not just this heavy hanging thing over your head like, oh, I should be doing this. And then make sure that you are scheduling regular times to create those things. So for me, something that I've got a little girl here who wants to eat. Something that I've gotten in the habit of doing, and I've played with different arrangements. Sometimes when you're doing a launch, I just came out of a launch, or actually I should say I'm finishing up a launch and it's tomorrow. Sometimes when you're just finishing that up, that will throw a wrench in it. But in general, I am now dedicating the last week of every month to content creation for the following month. So that means the emails get written and scheduled. That means I pick whatever topics I'm going to talk about on Facebook for these weekly Tuesday night Facebook live sessions. My virtual assistant will batch those graphics that we put onto Facebook, and he will schedule them on Facebook. So that's just one example of a way that you can start to schedule recurring things in groups. And if you've got it on the calendar, like this is when I always work on these recurring tasks, it really, really helps. Thank you for the heart. It really helps take the cognitive load out. So even if the overall workload is the same, the cognitive drain that it takes on your mental energy and your reserves is way less, because you know that you have a designated time to work on that. And I find it's really a lot easier to focus on your big picture tasks. I follow Chalene Johnson's Smart Success Academy, so if you're familiar with that, then I would have my push goal that I work on the other 3 weeks out of the month. But then I also have on Fridays, for example, that's kind of my admin and catch up day. So if I have expense receipts that I need to get to my virtual assistant, paying my virtual assistant, kind of any admin related things, I try, if it doesn't require an immediate response, I designate Fridays for that. So I always know that I have a time and a place for those things, and that really reduces a lot of stress in my business, especially when things just pop up and you feel like you need to take care of them right away. You know, having those set schedules really, really helps. So that's my third tip, is schedule as much as you possibly can, and schedule it in groups. If you have something that you do on a on a routine basis, make sure that you're actually carrying it out and implementing it and doing those tasks in or on a routine basis, and not just every day as you think of them or remember that they have to get done. It's really going to take a lot of stress out of your business. And then my fourth tip for you, my fourth and final tip, is make sure that you are scheduling breaks or downtime. Now, if you are still working a day job, then of course, these breaks are not necessarily going to be full-blown vacations by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're working your little behind off, then being able to come home at the end of the day and maybe watch a movie or go out to dinner with your significant other and not feel any stress about it, that's a really good thing. Those planned breaks feel so much better than just getting burned out and stopping work and getting behind. That doesn't feel good at all. And when you don't take these scheduled breaks, then you set yourself up to do that. Personally, I try to schedule a break every quarter. So by scheduling a break, maybe I'm jumping into the Facebook group and I'm keeping up with that, but I'm not really working on any new business, and I'm spending limited time working towards that next product or strategy or launch. And I'll take that for about a week. And next week will be that week for me. I'm just finishing up a launch. I've got a little bit of cleanup to do this weekend on some back ends of some processes, and then catch up a little bit on the content for the next few weeks, because that launch did throw a little bit of a wrench in that schedule. And then I'm committing to you. I'm putting my hand up. My right hand is holding the phone, or else I would hold up my right hand and commit to you so you can help keep me accountable. Next week, I'm committing Monday through Sunday of next week to only jump in this Facebook group and my Facebook Live, and that's it. I'm not looking at strategy. I'm not deciding what my next product launch is going to be. And as I've gotten into the habit of doing that, normally I do it every quarter. This time I'm doing it just because I had a product launch. I did like 3 product launches in 4 months, which is not normal for me. So I think I need a little bit of a break. And that's when my best inspiration comes. So don't be afraid to set things down for a little bit. It might take you a couple of days to kind of get in the swing of it. You might have to jot down all those notes and things that are jumbling around in your head, your pros and cons list, which I'm going to talk about later in one of my upcoming talks. I'm going to talk about how when you hit a wall in your business, how to get out of that and how to move on to the next step when you don't know what it is. But I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. These breaks are a really big component of it. So those are my 4 tips for you tonight. Just to recap, my first strategy for reducing stress in your business is to, oh my goodness, number 1, that was a long time ago. What was my first strategy? You guys help me out. I remember number 2. So number 1 will come to me. Number 2 was goodness, excuse me, I've got a little chihuahua bugging me. Number 2 was getting help sooner than you think you need it. Number 3 was scheduling. Oh, number 1, of course, was getting rid of the things that really aren't effective in your business. Don't waste your time on that. 2, get help sooner than you think you can afford to have it. 3, schedule your recurring activities or tasks in regularly recurring times to actually work on them. And 4, schedule those planned breaks rather than waiting until you burn out. And that's ultimately why I am here to serve you. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of hustle, a lot of heart, a lot of courage, a lot of emotion to get a business up and running and off the ground. And I don't want you to burn out. I know that you've got it in you to be successful. It just takes time, it takes courage, and it takes energy. So my goal is to help you pace yourself, to take care of yourself, to ingrain those rituals and self-care habits, those healthy, consistent practices, so that you have what you need to fuel that dream and that ambition. So I would love to hear which of these strategies you are planning to adopt. Please leave that in the comments below. Again, please feel free to share this if you know someone, or if you have a tribe of business owners as well that could benefit from having a little bit less stress in their business. I'm Mariah Seacrest Comer. I'm a personal fitness trainer, yoga instructor. I work full-time at an office in something completely unrelated, and I am here to help fuel your ambitions by giving you as much energy as possible to carry out your dreams. I hope you'll consider joining me next week. I'm here every week at 5:45 on Facebook, and I would love to connect with you next time. Take care. Bye, Lulu. Say bye, Lulu. Bye. Oh, kisses. Bye.